and good morning, everybody, and welcome to Jay's Latest. I'm your host, Craig Borden, and we're going to talk all things Toronto Blue Jays and maybe a few extras this morning because there's some fun things going on in the American League East, and we want to make sure that you are all aware of it. So let's head to New York because the Yankees don't sound like the Yankees. And I don't know if you've been reading the headlines, seeing what they've been talking about or anything, but the Yankees have not done a lot this offseason and made a couple of trades and this thing and that thing, but it hasn't been that big splash or that fact that it's going to just be that thing that takes them over the top in the American League East, which is very, very, very uncharacteristic of the New York Yankees. And when you look at their payroll and what they currently have, outside Aaron Judge, are still paying a ton of money. Giancarlo Stanton, all these other guys, and it looks like the youth movement is on in New York. They're trying to focus on Ben Rice, Austin Wells, Jason Dominguez, all these guys that are clearly trying to form a core similar to what they did in the early, the late 90s with Jeter, Pettit, and company. But that being said, they just are flat out not saying the quiet part out loud, I feel like, because the Yankees basically said in interviews the other day that they are not getting into a bidding war for Cody Bellinger, a guy they traded for this past offseason, invested in to take them over the top, to be that guy that backs up in the lineup for Aaron Judge. And for whatever reason, just tapping out and walking away, or this is the weirdest tactic I have seen in a long time. Right now, if you assume regular baseball numbers, Cody Bellinger is projected to win, or, whatever it might be, however you want to word it. In free agency, he's going to average about $30 million a year. He made 26 last year. They have just basically said the Kyle Tucker's deal, the Bo Bichette deal that we saw with the Mets, have fun with them. They're just not going to get into those kind of bidding matches with anybody to get somebody like Cody Bellinger apparently in this lineup. I just can't believe I'm in a day and an era that the Yankees are just not throwing a ton of money at somebody, because that was just always the MO. It was a Steinbrenner thing all day, every day. Brian Cashman is still the general manager of this team. Clearly, the new Steinbrenner regime, the young one, is trying to at least clinch the purse a little bit. But you talk about national brands, I just can't imagine that the Yankees are crying poor, because no matter where you go in the world, if you talk baseball with somebody, if they have never watched baseball in their life, they probably have at least heard of the New York Yankees, if not know the Yankees. So that national brand recognition throughout the world is just mind-blowing to me to that point. And it usually breeds money. So it is what it is. Maybe the Yankees are tapping out and gonna run with what they got, and what they got, gang, it's not bad, don't get me wrong, but it's got holes in it. And you would think that some of these pieces like Cody Bellinger would have added to that ship very efficiently to let them at least sail to where they did last season. Anyway, speaking of sailing, let's talk the ballad of Tony Taters. Anthony Santander is going to be, obviously, hopefully, a full-time Blue Jay this year. And I just realized I messed up my stuff. There we go. That's what I want. Are we going to see the revenge tour? Tony Taters was a perennial for the last 3 seasons, a 30 home run, 80, 90 RBIs guy for the Baltimore Orioles. Did really, really well. But so that's the reason the Blue Jays signed him to a 5-year, $92.5 million deal for his services to play left field. And if you put that number by what we've been seeing this offseason, that's actually a good deal. But he's got to play, is the problem. And he's got to live up to some of those numbers. But Anthony Santander is hopefully healthy, going to come into spring training and be ready to play, because he's got to be, if he has any baseball like juices in him that he wants to play. He had to have been upset about sitting on the sideline during the World Series last year. So you're going to get him back and get 30 home runs out of him, which I think is doable when he played like garbage last year and had 6. He also had the slowest home run trot in like minor league baseball history when he was trying to do his rehab assignment with the Buffalo Bisons, but that's a whole nother thing. So You get that offensive production back behind Vladdy and company in this lineup. This lineup becomes a bigger threat. And now you have the other power pieces of this to Kazuma Akamoto jumping in and playing third base. It's going to be an efficient, powerful lineup that hopefully just continues to put the ball in play like they did this past season, because the Blue Jays changed the game on that one. That was one of the things that the Blue Jays and really the Brewers were focusing on this past season, and they did a great job, and that really took them over the top. MVP votes for Dave Hopkins, so that would be the point. But Anthony Santander's power can change this lineup and would be just as good as adding anybody else, and I hope that he comes back for the revenge tour in Dunedin, and we get to see it just in a few weeks here when pitchers and catchers officially report in 22 days. So, on that note, some other parts that I'm looking forward to very much seeing this spring training. These recent moves with the infield being what the infield now is. You have Vladdy at first, Ernie at second, Andres Jimenez at short, and Akamoto at third. Jimenez does have a hell of a crazy deal. He's going to be a Blue Jay for a long time, and he's not going to be very cheap. So if he doesn't start hitting as well as he's playing defense, there's a problem there. So that saying, we have the Blue Jays' top 5 prospects right now are insanely good. Obviously, everybody knows number 1 because he still technically qualifies as a prospect. Trey Savage is the number 1 Blue Jays prospect, and then you go down the list and you're still seeing guys like JoJo Parker and Arjun Amala, and those are the 2 right there that I wanted to make sure you talk about, because if you don't watch those 2 in the minor league stuff this year, JoJo Parker is rumored to have some crazy pop. Arjun Amala is a great defender who has been finding a way to get it done with the lumber. He's just got to find a way to become more consistent with it. But both of them, really good shortstops. Are they going to push Jimenez for a job in the coming years? Yes, is the answer. Then you have Ricky Tiedemann and Johnny King are in the outside looking in here. Ricky Tiedemann is going to have a chance to make this team come spring training. He's got a great arm. He's left-handed. There's plenty of good reasons to have him on this team. Just down the line, there is another story brewing that could be very Trey Savage-like, and that is Johnny King. He's a high school flamethrower lefty. He's been really, really good in his first season with the Blue Jays organization. He is the name to watch as far as prospects goes, because he could be one of the ones that rises meteorically, just like Trey Savage. And then right behind him, Gage Stanifer, who has also been one of those guys that had an insanely good first parts of his Blue Jays professional career. Got all the way up to New Hampshire last year. He pitched a couple outings. Wasn't the best at that level, but that's the one he gets to come back to and ensure that he's going to be ready for it. And he's very fun to watch, too. But I'm looking very, very, very forward to seeing what King and Stanifer can do this preseason and go from there. But to that point, check it out, Blue Jays fans. This is a great time to be Blue Jays fans, including these young prospects. And as these things go, I love all 5 of those guys. 6 of those guys. But if there's something we can do to trade, there is a position of depth there in the Blue Jays minor league system of guys that could be in the earshot dart throw of the majors. Could there be a big trade coming? I would not rule it out at this point. I feel like the Blue Jays still feel like they have a chip on their shoulder for not finishing all their business this offseason. I'm curious to see what that does over the next few weeks. So, on that note, Blue Jays fans, thank you very much for listening. We love you here at Jay's Latest. Keep hitting us up in those comments section. If you see bird watching, that's me. Because of my other show, the Jay Bird Watching Podcast. And if you missed last week's episode, check that out, because we had Shane Told of the band at Silverstein, who is a giant Monster Toronto Blue Jays fan. And we're going to have Taylor Belford of the Walk Off Podcast and everything this week, too, talking about Dunedin and our trip down there this year. So talk to you soon. And as always, let's go Blue Jays.